The warm welcome of our Honorable President Dr. D.K. Modi sir, respected R.K. Khandal sir, Director sir, on our HODs and alumni and my dear students. Today I Nidhi Sharma, Assistant Professor of Dr. K. N. Modi Engineering College from CS branch is here. As we know that everyone is very active on social media and wants to store our information, important data, but how to arrange the required space in server. Now, problem arise how to maintain the memory space. To discuss the above issue, we are here with our alumni as panelist, Mr. Shobha Srivastav, working with Suncorp Bank Australia as a senior software engineer, and Mr. Vinayak, software engineer in CGI. Now, I would like to call to describe role of Hadoop in big data problem to Mr. Atisha Jain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning to one and all present over there. Respected President, sir, Director, sir, all the members of panel, respected faculty members, and my dear batchmates. My name is Atisha Jain. I am pursuing Bachelor of Technology from Dr. Kedarnath Modi Institute of Engineering and Technology in IT branch. Today, the topic of our webinar is the role of Hadoop in big data problem. Before I will tell you about big data, I would like to tell you from where it has come. What is the reason behind the existence of big data? The first reason is evolution of technology. The enhancement of technology generates the lots of amount of data. For example, earlier we were using telephones, but today we are using mobile phones. iOS and Android based operating system makes our mobile more smarter. Second example is earlier we stored data in floppy disk, then we store it in CD drives and hard disks, and now we store data on cloud. The second reason is IoT, Internet of Things. IoT means connecting of normal device to the internet so that they become more smarter. For example, smart air conditioners. What smart air conditioners do? They record the data in the form of the temperature in our surrounding, the temperature of our room, and our body temperature. By analyzing that data, it cools our room. The third and the most important reason is social media. We all are using social media today. We upload many photos, videos on Facebook, Instagram, and we like and comment others' photos, videos. This is actually a very big amount of data. So I would like to introduce about big data. Big data came in the first decade of 21st century. The organization like Google, eBay, Facebook use big data. Like many new information technologies, big data can bring about dramatic cost reduction, substantial improvement in the time required to perform a computation task. Now, what actually is the big data? Big data is chunk of collection of data sets to large and complete that it becomes difficult to process using on-hand database system tools or traditional data processing application. In simple words, we can say that big data is that data which is present in very large amount, and it becomes very difficult to handle by using the traditional database system. We need to go more smarter. Now, the three V's of big data. These three V's are the characteristics of big data: volume, velocity, and variety. The first characteristic is volume. A typical PC might have 10 gigabytes of storage in 2000. But today, Facebook itself ingests 500 terabytes of new data daily. This graph shows how big data is increasing from 2010 to 2025. In a study, it is accumulated that by 2021, the data will grow from 4.4 zettabytes to around 44 zettabytes, which is about 44 trillion of gigabytes. The third characteristic is velocity. It refers to the speed of data generated in a particular span of time. Today, in every 60 seconds, 98,000 tweets are updated. More than 6,95,000 status are updated on Facebook. In the same way, around 1,820 terabyte of data is created in every single minute. I would like to tell you that more than 217 mobile users are increasing in a single minute. The third characteristic is variety. Big data isn't just numbers, dates, and strings. It is also geospatial data, 3D data, audio, and video. This data is characterized into three formats. Structured format, which consists of the data which have proper schema, a tabular form. Second is semi-structured data. Semi-structured data consists of XML files, HTML files, PDF files, and many more. The third one is unstructured data. Unstructured data consists of audio, video, and images. Now, big data as an opportunity. How we can use big data as an opportunity? Big data can be used as cost-effective storage system for huge data sets, providing ways to analyze information quickly and make decisions. Evolution of customer needs and satisfaction, and automated car and healthcare. Let me tell you the example of YouTube. YouTube analyze our search history and our location. On the basis of that, it provides the suggestion which songs we love to listen to. Next slide, please. Now, big data analytics. What is big data analytics? Big data analytics examine large and different types of data to uncover hidden patterns, correlation, and other insights. In this figure, we should see that there is a big data. After performing certain analytics, we get a meaningful data through which we can make useful decisions. Now, what is the need of big data analytics? The first need is making smarter and more efficient organization. All the police departments throughout the world use big data to stop the crime. They first create the hotspots where crime may happen, so they can reach before the crime and stop the crime. The second need is optimize business operation by analyzing customer behavior. Websites like Amazon, Flipkart use customer clickstream data and historical purchase to show the customized result on web page. The third need is new generation products such as smart self-driving car. Self-driving car uses camera, GPS, and powerful sensors to calculate the obstacle size and the distance. Netflix has the same characteristics as YouTube. The third is smart yoga mat. Smart yoga mat provides the feedback on our postures, score our practice, and even guide you through at your home practice. Now, what are the stages in big data analytics? The first stage is identify the problem. Here, we identify the problem. Now, in the second stage, we collect the data which is used to solve that problem. In the third stage, we process that data. And in the fourth stage, we perform some analytics over that data. And in fifth stage, we visualize that data. Here are some application of big data analytics. Healthcare, telecom industries, insurance companies, government, finance sector, automobile, education sector, and retail are some applications of big data analytics. Now, machine learning and big data. In modern business, it knows that how big data is so much powerful. Machine learning systems help companies manage, analyze, and use their data for more successful than ever before. Now, here are some real-world applications of big data and machine learning. The first application is healthcare. ML capabilities help healthcare in improving the diagnostics and personalized treatment plans. Retail. Companies like Amazon, Flipkart use ML to capture, analyze, and use data to personalize the shopping experience. The third application is the financial services. In the financial sectors like banking, they use ML to analyze large historical data sets with little human interactions. The fourth application is automobile. Automobile, the best example is self-driving car. Self-driving car use ML to analyze the size of the obstacles. Now moving to our next slide, here is the benefit of using big data analytics. It cuts the costs, it increases the efficiency, it reduces the time by using the high-speed tool like Hadoop. So what is Hadoop? And why it is, and to introduce Hadoop, I would like to call Yashvi Bhatnagar on the screen. Thank you, that's all from my side.
Thank you, Atishay, for giving us a brief introduction of a big data. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Yashvi Bhatnagar. I'm a student of a BTech third year IT branch studying in a Dr. Kedarnath Modi Institute of Engineering and Technology. Now, I would like to firstly tell you about why Hadoop is an effective solution to a big data. So, let us consider the situation with a traditional processing system. Here there are many processors which are connected to a single processing unit called a data warehouse, and all these processors are accessing data from the single unit. Now here the problem arises, since all the processors are process the data from the single unit, so there will be a problem of a network overhead, input output overhead, a congestion problem. So in order to solve all these problems and the problems related to big data, so data warehouse is not able to solve the problem of a big data. So the effective solution to is the bring the distributed and the parallel approach, that is Apache Hadoop. Hadoop framework to process a big data. Hadoop is an Apache open source framework written in a Java that allows us to store and process large data sets in parallel and a distributed fashion. So in this slide, I will explain you about the main core components of a Hadoop. There are mainly two main core components of a Hadoop, SGFS and the MapReduce. So these two core components are introduced to solve the two major big problems of a big data. The first major problem is the storage problem. In order to solve the storage problem, Hadoop gives the core component of a SDFS, where SDFS stands for the Hadoop Distributed File System. In the SDFS system, the different machines are interconnected over the Hadoop clusters, and the data is distributed in these machines. So the Hadoop gives it terms as a SDFS. And in order to solve the second major problem of big data, it gives us a core concept of a MapReduce. MapReduce is the programming unit of a Hadoop. It allows a parallel and a distributed processing of a data. That is, the data is distributed parallelly, hence known as a map, and all the intermediary results are combined together to produce the final output. It is known as the map. Hence, the together known as a MapReduce. The Hadoop framework application works in an environment that provides distributed storage and the computation across clusters of computers. Hadoop is designed to scale up from a single server to thousands of machines, and each offering a local computers and storage. So this is the master slave architecture, or we can call it as a Hadoop architecture. So I will explain this using a present scenario that we all are familiar, and this scenario is very common in every corporate sector. So you all can relate very closely. So the scenario is a project manager is here who is managing a team of 4 members, and these 4 members are John, James, Bob, and Alice. So whatever the project this project manager is getting from the client, he distributed it across all the 4 members. Let the projects be a project A, B, C, and D. So he distribute the project A to John, project B to James, project C to Bob, and project D to Alice. And he also update his metadata at which project he assigned to which team member. Since that the project manager is a very clever and the intelligent person, so in order to solve the future problem, what he does that he goes to every the future problems, like if one of the team member fell ill or something happened, so his projects are not get completed on time. So what he did, he goes to every team member and told them to take another project as a backup project, and he also give them a grade that they will get promoted and get the credit of the 2 projects. So he assigned the project A and C to John, project B and D to another team member, and project B and C to Bob, and the project D and E to Alice. So here you compare the scenario that of this company and the master and slave nodes Hadoop architecture. So the project manager is working similarly as a master node. He manages all the team members and maintains the metadata to track the report of each work that he has distributed. So similarly, the master node maintains and manages all the slave nodes and records the metadata. This is exactly what happens in a Hadoop cluster. Now I am going to introduce you all about the one of the Hadoop core components, that is SDFS. So the main 3 core components of a SDFS are name node, data node, and the secondary node. So this is the SDFS architecture. So the main core components of a SDFS architecture are the name node and the data node. So here the name node is working similarly as the master node, and the data nodes are working similarly as the slave nodes. So here the name node maintains and manages all the data nodes. It also performs a block operation on the data node so that it can block the report from the data node. And the name node also updated the metadata, and the client can also perform write operation on the data nodes. Data node is the location where all the data is distributed, and this data is distributed in the form of blocks, and these are known as the data blocks. So SDFS follows the master slave architecture, as I told in the SDFS architecture, and it has the following elements. So the first element is a name node. Name node is also known as the master node. The systems having the name node act as a master server, and it does the following tasks. So firstly, the name node is the commodity hardware, and it contains the GNU and the Linux operating system and the name node software. Firstly, it manages and maintains the databases. It also records the metadata. It executes the file system operations such as renaming, closing, and opening files and other directories. It also regulates the client access to files and receives heartbeat and block report from all the data nodes. Here the heartbeat means the signals that are travel from data node to name node is in the form of a heartbeat. Heartbeat denotes that the signals are alive. So next I want to explain you about the second core component of a SDFS, that is a data node. Data node hence are known as a slave nodes. The data node is also commodity hardware having the GNU and a Linux operating system and the data node software. For every node in a cluster, there will be a data node, and these nodes manage the data storage on the system. Data node perform read-write operations on the file system as per client request. They also perform the operations such as a block creation, deletion, replication according to the instructions of the name node. So the third core component, that is the secondary name node and the checkpointing. So as you all know, as I have discussed earlier, that a name node also stores the metadata. So in order to update the metadata, there were mainly 2 main files logs are used, and these files are a edit log and the fs image. So what is fs image? what is FS image? FS image is the one of the file system that contains all the modifications that has been created in the Hadoop cluster since the name node was created. Suppose if the name node was created in the past 20 days, then FS image will contain all the modifications, all the changes, and all the updations that has been made in the past 20 days. So FS image contains a huge amount of data. So FS image is stored in the local disk of a name node. And what is edit log? Edit log is also contains some metadata, but it contains the very recent changes and the modifications, just like the changes that has been done in the past 1 hour. So edit log contains less data as compared to FS image. So it is stored in the RAM of a system. So what is secondary name node? Secondary name node performs the checkpointing operations, and the checkpointing is the process of combining the edit log and the FS image. So secondary name node takes a first copy of copies of a edit log and the FS image and combines both of them and produce a final FS image. And this final FS image will contain all the modifications and all the recent changes that has been happened in the Hadoop cluster or the system. Since all the metadata is stored in a name node, it is very important that if it fails, the file system cannot be used, as there would be no way of knowing how to reconstruct the files from block present in data node. And in order to overcome this, the concept of a secondary name node arises. Secondary name node is a separate physical machine which acts as a helper of a name node. It performs periodic checkpoints, it communicates with the name nodes and takes snapshots of a metadata, which helps minimize downtime and the loss of time. Checkpointing is a process of combining edit logs and the FS image. Secondary name node takes over the responsibility of a checkpointing, therefore making name node more available. Checkpointing happens periodically, that is default time is a 1 hour. So the question arises how the data is actually stored in the data nodes. That is the concept of a SDFS data blocks that we have seen in the SDFS architecture. So what is data block? So data blocks is the basically a minimum amount of data that it can read or write. So SDFS file system is basically a data block system where all the data is stored. So here I am taking an example. Suppose if a client wants to store a file of a 380 MB and he want to store all these files in the SDFS data nodes. So how it will store this? One file of a 380 MB will divided into 3 blocks, that is of 128 MB, 128 MB and 124 MB. The first 2 block size is 128 MB because the maximum default size of a one block can be only a 128 MB in case of a Apache Hadoop 2X. So the first two blocks is of size of 128 MB and the third, that is a final block, is of a remaining size of the 380 MB, that is a 124 MB. So files in SDFS are broken into a block size chunks which are stored as the independent units. That is, each file is stored in SDFS as a block. So the second side of the diagram, you can see that a name node consists of a data node, and all these data blocks are stored in the data nodes, and each block is stored in the one of the data node, that is in separate data nodes. So now the second question also arises, how Hadoop pop up with a data node failure. So this is a very common scenario that happens in everyday or day-to-day life, that if one of the data node is crashed or the file system is crashed, then what will happen? Suppose in this scenario, the data node consisting of a block size of a 124 MB is crashed. So, for answering this question, the concept of a fault tolerance, that is a replication factor, has come. So, in the replication factor, each data blocks are replicated thrice by default and are distributed across different nodes. So, in simply language, I want to explain the scenario like this. The data block of a 128 MB has a 3 image file of a 128 MB. That is, each data block of size of a 128 MB is stored in a different data nodes. So it is just like a scenario that not to keep all the money at one place so that thief cannot store all the money. This is similarly like that. So the data node, if data node consisting of a 124 MB is crashed, then there is still 2 more files of a 124 MB that is stored in other 2 data nodes. So now coming to a features of a SDFS. So in the features of a SDFS, it is suitable for the distributed storage and the processing. Hadoop provides a command interface to interact with the SDFS. So the built-in services in name node and data node help users to easily check the status of a cluster. Streaming access to the system file data. SDFS provide file permissions and authentication. Now, goals of a SDFS. So there are mainly three goals of a SDFS. The first goal is a fault detection and the recovery, and the second one is a huge database, and the third one is a hardware and data. So in the first goal, fault detection and recovery. Since SDFS includes a large number of a commodity hardware, failure of components is frequent. Therefore, SDFS should have a mechanism for quick and automatic fault detection and a recovery. In the second goal, that is a huge database, SDFS should have hundreds of nodes per cluster to manage the applications having huge data sets. And in the third goal, that is a hardware and data, a requested task can be done efficiently when the computation takes place near the data, especially where huge data sets are involved. It reduces the network traffic and increases the throughput. So in order to continue the session, now I would like to invite Ms. Rashmi Srivastava to continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yashvi, for describing the storage unit of Hadoop. Let us move forward to its processing unit, which is the MapReduce. And good evening, everyone. My name is Rashmi Srivastava, and I'm person BTech from Dr. K. Modi in IT branch. So here, its processing unit, which is MapReduce. MapReduce is a programming framework that allows us to perform distributed and parallel processing on large datasets in a distributed environment. Let us get aware with the MapReduce with the help of story. There is a professor and 4 students in a class. They are reading Julius Caesar book. Now the professor wants to know how many times the word Julius occur in the book, so that he asks the students to go ahead, read the whole book and tell me how many times the word Julius occur on the book. So all of the students got the copy of the book and they start counting the word Julius. It took 4 hours to do so. First student answered that I got 45 times. Second answers he got 46 times. Maybe some calculation mistake, or he may be right. He might be. Fourth also replied 45. Then professor decided that 3 people cannot be wrong, so the answer is 45. And it took time of 4 hours. Then professor thought it is taking very long time, so this time he applied another method. He applied, let us assume there is 4 chapter in a book. So the professor decided to distribute each chapter to each student and ask students to go through the chapter. Now since the students get only one chapter instead of entire book, they are able to count the word Julius and finish the chapter in just 1 hour. And they are doing in the same time. So in the same time, chapter 1 has been counted, chapter 2 has been counted, chapter 3 has been counted, and so student first went to professor and said he got 12 times in chapter 1, second student said 14 times, third got 8 and 11 in chapter 4 as counted by student 4. So the professor received all the different answers from all the 4 students, and finally he summed up and got answer 45. Let us assume it took 2 minutes to add the answer. So the total time becomes 1 hour and 2 minutes to finish the task. This becomes the effective solution. This part of each student is distributed and each of them working on a part of the book. This part is known as map. When the finally professor adds the answer, this part is known as reduce. And this entirely is map reduced in the concept of Hadoop. So all the processing of single file is divided into a part and they are getting processed simultaneously. And all the intermediate results and give the final output. This is very effective solution because all the tasks happen parallelly in a lesser time. Let us move on and understand in a sentence or in a paragraph. First, we have divided, and since we know, we divide the entire task into different parts. Here we divide each of the sentence into three because there is three sentences. The first sentence is Dear Bear River, second one is Car River, third one is Dear Car Bear. So now the mapping will take place on each of the sentences over here. Since the mapping takes place, each word get assigned with a key. So we have got the key value, which is 1. Here the mapping place, each of these are covered in a key value pair. It happens with other two sentences as well. First, we divide it into three parts and list of key values divided, where a key is nothing but one after the mapper sorting and shuffling happens, so that all the keys are sent to corresponding reducer. So after the sorting and shuffling reducer with the value, finally we get all the output together in a key value pair. So the reducer has combined all the different intermediate values together, and we have got answer key value, which gives final result, which we can see Bear 2, Car 3, Deer 2, and River 2. So let us move forward and discuss about the part of MapReduce, which is there is a three part of MapReduce, which is mapper code. Here, how map task will process the data and produce the key value pair to be aggregated. Second one is reducer code. Here we write reducer logic, which combines the intermediate key value pairs generated by mapper to give the final aggregated output. Another one is driver code. We specify all the job configurations over here, like job name, input path, output path, etc. On moving forward, we have Hadoop Yarn, which is Creator. It is a resource management and job scaling framework. It is responsible for allocating system resources to various applications running in Hadoop cluster and scheduling tasks to be executed on different cluster nodes. Here we have few Yarn components, which is Resource Manager, Node Manager, App Master, and Container. Resource Manager, it is the master daemon that manages all other daemons and accepts job submissions, and it allocates first container for the application master. Second one is Node Manager, which is responsible for containers monitoring their resources, usage, CPU, that is CPU, memory, disk, network, and it reports the same to Resource Manager. Another one is Application Master. It is one for every application. It coordinates and manages MapReduce jobs. It negotiates resources from Resource Manager. Last one is Container. It allocates certain amount of resources on a slave node. On moving forward, we have a MapReduce job workflow. Here we can see an image. First of all the client nodes submit a MapReduce job to the resource manager. We know that the resource manager is the master node, so this is where a job is submitted. Then the resource manager replies to client node with an application ID. Then resource manager contacts the node manager and asks it to start the container. Then the node manager is responsible for launching the app master for each of the applications. Then app master will negotiate for container, that is data node, where process executed, and it will execute the particular application and monitor the progress. So the app master are nothing but the daemons which reside on data node and communicates to container for execution of tasks in each data node. When it will receive all the resources which is needed, so then the app master will receive all the resources from resource manager in order to complete the job and the container. So the application master launch the container, and when the container is launched, we'll have a yarn child which actually perform the MapReduce task, and we will get the output. Here we have a yarn architecture. As we already discussed its yarn components, we have a global resource job and allocate source of them. Here we have different node managers where that's installed at each node and functions as a monitoring and reporting agent of the resource manager. And an app master that's created for each application to negotiate for resources and work with the node manager to execute and monitor tasks. Last is resource container that are controlled by node manager and assigned to system resource allocated to individual application. Here we have two technologies differ on cluster resource management, which is Yarn and MapReduce. Yarn supports a variety of processing engines and applications. MapReduce supported its own batch processing applications only. Yarn separates its duties across multiple components. Where MapReduce consolidated most of its work in a single component. Yarn can dynamically allocate pools of resource to application where MapReduce provided static allocations of resources for designated tasks. Then here our point is Hadoop cluster. A Hadoop cluster is nothing but a group of computers connected together via LAN. We use this for storing and processing large data sets. Then there is a three Hadoop cluster modes, which is standalone mode, pseudo distributed mode, and the multi-node cluster mode. Standalone mode has no daemons and everything runs in a single Java virtual machine. And it is suitable for running MapReduce programs during development. And it has no DFS or distributed file system. Pseudo distributed mode. All Hadoop daemons run on the local machine. The last one is multi-node cluster mode. Hadoop daemons run on a cluster of machines. Then here we have a Hadoop ecosystem. Hadoop ecosystem is a platform or suite which performs various services to solve the big data problem. It includes Apache projects and various commercial tools and solutions. All tools work collectively to provide such as adoption, analysis, storage, and maintenance of data. Here we have a picture of our Hadoop ecosystem. As we already discussed about the resource management, which is Yarn, stored management, which is given by SDFS, and its processing unit, which is MapReduce. Here we have two new terms, which is Flume and Scoop. Flume works for unstructured or the songs, etc. And it can only import the file into HDFS, where Scoop is structured data, which can also be said as SQL data, and can import and forward. We need to discuss more about the tools of the Hadoop ecosystem. First, we have Apache HBase. It is an open source and non-relational distributed database, and it runs on top of HDFS. It is a server-based workflow scheduling system to manage those enterprise search platform written in Java. It includes full text search with highlighting, tested search, real-time indexing, dynamic clustering, database integration, and no SQL features and rich document handling. Then Lucene. Apache Lucene is a free and open source search engine software library. Then Kafka. It is distributed streaming platform and it directly reports to the Zookeeper. Apache Pig. Apache Pig is a high-level platform for creating programs that run on Hadoop. Pig Latin language is used to written on Apache Pig. Then Spark. Apache Spark is a unified analytics engine for big data processing. Then here comes our Hive. Hive is a data warehouse software project built for providing data query and analysis. Then Drill. Drill is an open source software framework that supports data-intensive distributed applications for interactive data analysis of large-scale datasets. Then last one is Zookeeper. Apache Zookeeper is a software which is used for management and coordination of processes in Hadoop. Then advantages of Hadoop. It is fault tolerant, as we already discussed in SDFS. It has a large computing power. It is very flexible. It has a very high scalability. It is very high in storage, and it has very low cost. Moving forward, we have practical implementation, which is security and law enforcement. As we already discussed, that National Security Agency of the USA uses Hadoop to prevent terrorist attacks. It is used to detect and prevent such criminals and even predict criminal activities. Another one is customers' requirement and understanding. Many big companies like Twitter, Netflix, Amazon are using Hadoop only to satisfy their customers. Cities and country development. By analyzing data, it is used in the development of the country. For example, traffic jams can be controlled by uses of Hadoop. It's used to improve the transport of cities. Fourth one is improving healthcare and public health. Hadoop is used in the medical field also to improve the public health. Many health-related applications are based on Hadoop, which monitor the day-to-day activity. And the last one is improving sports. There is a IBM Slam Tracker is a tool which is used in tennis, and it directly sensors and its sensors are used to improve the performance of games. And I would like to rest here only. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rasmi, for your impressive presentation. Thank you. Now, I would like to call Mr. Shobhit Srivastav for giving your valuable advice for our students. Shobhit
Sure,
Srivastav.
sir. Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah. Yeah, so hello, everyone. I'm Shobhit. I'm in Australia as for now. I'm associated with the bank here, Suncorp. It's the highest bank here. So we use Hadoop in our day-to-day office work. So Hadoop, it's a big thing. It is not actually optimized, as we say, because it has a number of parts that has to be stewed together so as we can get our processing done. So when I say Hadoop, Hadoop itself is a big term, and it is like widely used in all around the world, like we use in our banking systems as well. So if you are opting for a career in Hadoop, so you should know that Hadoop, it is based upon SQL and how you handle your data. So now we have SQL and data. Now data, it's upon your mind. How do you approach that object? How do you see data? And how you can um, weave it into your own terms. I can say that I scored 100 marks, but what does that mean to you? So that is data. And SQL, it is how you write your code. And since I use Hadoop on AWS server, so my SQL will be a different version than yours. It can be. So it actually goes up to your mind on how do you visualize your data points, how do you approach that data points, and how do you actually store that data. Because at the end, when you want to get some information from the data, you need storage, and with the storage it comes at a cost. Storage is not free. At the end, Hadoop, it is hosted on cloud, as we say, but cloud in turn is hosted on a physical server. So how do you optimize your storage? How does Hadoop optimize your organization storage? And how does in turn it affects the cost? Because at the end of the day, when you work for a client, it comes to a single point boiling, that is cost. So for $100, how much I can achieve on my Hadoop system? So Hadoop is a good thing. It is like a really vivid thing for us here. And I too learned Hadoop when I was around your age, means in my second year or third year. So at that time, it was an introductory topic to us, and we learned Hadoop from that point on time. So slowly we moved into Hadoop systems. And still it's a wide way to go, because Hadoop, it is not just there yet. It is not yet finalized upon organizations, because it weaves around n number of systems and it organizes like zillions of data into one part. So it has its own issues, own what to say, complexities. But yeah, Hadoop is actually good. So go for it. Don't hold yourself back. Go for Hadoop. Work on it. Write live scenarios that, okay, suppose I got a file. How do I retain it? How do I archive it? And how do I make sure that the data is integrated into the system? So since we got a data file, it should be there, like it should hold its integrity from end to end process. So it is just a small point in the Hadoop system. But yeah, that was a very informative session for me. And I too revised few of the points which I may have lost in these years. But yeah, it was good.
Thank you, Shobhit. Now, I want to invite Mr. Vinayak Shukla. Please give your valuable advice.
Hello, sir. Able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. It was a very, very nice session organized by the students. Looks very good. We are progressing in our academics. So definitely it's a very good career choice, but not everyone will get to work in this Hadoop. And as a student, we can't learn much. We will get more expertise and more knowledge on this topic when we start working in the organization. So I would like to say, keep your database skills on a stronger side. At least know either .NET or Java, so you are able to clear the interview. And you need some cloud information because, like I think Yashashvi was telling in the slides, that fault tolerance is there. So these terms are directly derived from the cloud, and as Shobit mentioned, that we are using SQL. So we definitely need to know one database language. So picking up Oracle is on a good part. For a career side, it's very safe because everything at the end of the day, it comes to data. Wherever we see the present scenario in COVID-19, also companies are using AI, ML to backtrack the patients of the COVID-19. So Oracle is one of the things they can look into to get the Hadoop basics. Those who don't know, then we definitely need one programming language so that we get to know the architecture and the algorithms which are used in Hadoop. So their Java or either .NET will help them because both are object-oriented programming. And cloud we need to know because at the end, you cannot do all these calculations or Hadoop on an on-premise server. Definitely you have to go to on a cloud. And it was a very good presentation, so interesting.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Ayushi Prakash ma'am for word of thanks. Ayushi ma'am.
Hello, everyone. This is Ayushi from Dr. Dynamite. So on behalf of Dr. K. Modi Foundation, I would like to give a sincere thanks, my gratitude to one and all present over here. Special thanks to our alumni, Shobit Srivastava and Vinayak Shukla. Hi, Shobit. Hi, Vinayak.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and hoping you people are doing very good, and it sounds good actually.
Yeah.
So you have shared very good points. Thanks for that. From Shobit, the content was everything has its pros and cons. So big data and Hadoop itself has its own pros and cons. So thanks for your suggestion. And the important point that organization mostly concerned for cost and optimization of technology. This is very important point. Thank you, Shobit. And Vinayak. Hi, Vinayak.
Hello,
so Vinayak's point was very good. All the information you have shared was very important and interesting. So the most important point, what I have noted, that we should be stronger in our database part, especially for Oracle or any database. We should be concentrate on that, and we should keep updated about the database knowledge. Thank you, Vinayak. And thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your valuable information and for giving your time for our students. And Dipankar sir, I would like to give my sincere thanks to you to participate in this webinar and support our students. Prabhat sir, Director KNGT, and Manoj Agarwal sir, thank you so much, sir. And all the head of the departments, deputy heads, and all the faculty members, thanks for supporting our students. Many congratulations to our student Yashvi, Rashmi, and Atisha. You people are doing very well and presented in a good way. Thank you so much. And Nidhi sir, well organized. You have done as a moderator. It was up to expectation. You are doing very good. Thank you so much, sir. And a special thanks to Mani sir from IT department. Thank you, sir, for providing support to us, for providing a good platform for us, so that we can meet on daily basis, and we are talking about technology and about the updates of the world around COVID and everything. Thank you so much.